We came back to America and they were completely right. Americans love their stuff, absolutely. And when as a teenager, I started to love more and more and more stuff. I started to get into kind of a little bit of debt. As soon as I got out of college, I got a credit card. And it's amazing. As soon as you get your diploma, you get like 17 different credit card applications in the mail. Which let me say, college students or people who are just starting, do not get a credit card. If you're going to get one, get maybe one. But listen, that is a very, very dangerous thing. But I take monthly or yearly mission trips overseas, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But when I come back to the United States, it's weird. It really is. We live in a bubble of we have money, we're going to spend it. We have money, or we complain we don't have money, but we find out where to spend our money. But I think Americans, we are in a rut. Look at our economy, look at ourselves, look at your bank statement. And I believe that if we really look at the Bible, and we really look at the Bible and says, let's find out what this book, God's holy word, says about money, and not be afraid to talk about money, not be afraid to examine what money is for, I believe the key word is we're going to be blessed. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be a multimillionaire if you follow God's word. I'm saying you're going to be taken care of, and you ain't going to have to stress. You're going to be able to give more money away because you have more money to know what to do with, and you're just going to give it away. But the stuff is a bondage to us. And that's why we're calling this financial freedom. How many guys want to be free from your finances? Raise your hand. How many guys can honestly say that you are stressed about your finances right now? Raise your hand. Absolutely. And I don't think we have to be. I really don't. You have money coming in, and as a child of God, by the way, everything I'm talking about here is good stuff, great practical stuff for a Christian and a non-Christian, for a Christ follower or not. But I believe that you and I, who are truly Christ followers, who believe that Jesus Christ came, died, and rose again, have faith that that is true, you don't have to stress about cash, but you need to be a good steward, caretaker, manager of the money that you receive, because whose money actually is it? It's God's money. Last week we talked about working our butts off. So here's kind of a checkup on you guys. How many of you guys walked into your workplace this week and you had a smile on your face and you worked harder than you did the week before? Raise your hand. Did people ask you questions and say, what's going on with you? You're actually smiling at work. Yes? No? Okay. Continue to do it and watch what happens. But I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can be broken from this bondage and how to be set free in very practical ways. But just like I tell my kids to go pick up their laundry and put it away. I mean, I can tell them all the time. God's word can tell you all the time to go do X, Y, and Z in order to be financially free. But what do my kids have to actually do with the laundry? What do they actually have to do with the laundry? They have to do this. There's laundry that mom and dad said that's going to do. And I know the wrath of Dave is going to be upon me. So I'm going to not do it because I want daddy's attention. But what needs to happen is they need to, of course, pick up the laundry. It takes effort to pick up the laundry with my children. I mean, effort. They actually have to bend down, put the iPad to the side, and actually bend down, put the Barbies to the side, bend down, and put it, keyword, where it belongs. That's going to go good later on. Okay, so we need to get our lazy butts up out of and realize that we are in bondage. We need to go and put our stuff aside, the stuff that we want, and pick up our crap that we've accumulated, our dirty laundry from our financial life, and we need to put it where it belongs and watch God do some cool things. You with me? Yep. So turn your Bibles with me to Matthew chapter 25. I'm going to share a story with you real quick. This is going to be a little bit longer of a message, so I'll tell you this. If you have to go pee during the message, just please quietly go out, or just hold your bladder, because I think Catalyst Church, we're a very relaxed church, but this is what I do know. A lot of people like to move around, but trust me, you don't want to miss this at all. Matthew chapter 25, verse 14. One of the most well-known passages when it comes to money. Pastors like to preach it, but again, I think we know what to do. We just don't what? Do it. Matthew chapter 25, starting in verse 14. It says this. Oh, by the way, what color, for those of you guys who have fancy, cool Bibles like mine, what color is the word? Red. So who is speaking here? Jesus himself is speaking himself, all right? And I think if it's in your red Bible, it's on page 694, if I'm right? 694. If you have a red Bible, or if you don't have a Bible, that red Bible is yours to keep. Our gift for you for just being here. If you have a Bible of your own, just leave it there. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you as uncomfortable as I am talking about money? It's okay. Let the Bible speak for itself. It says again, the key word, it is talking about the kingdom of God. Jesus is saying the kingdom of God, the way we're supposed to live is like this. And it says this, it will be like a man going on a journey who calls his servants and entrusted, keyword, underline it, circle it, highlight it, masquerade it, his property to them. So what he did is he said, hey, servants, come to me. I guess in this time he had 3 servants. So I'm going to pause and say this. If you are not a Christ follower, okay, this is not for you. So enjoy us talking in love to the Christians, the Christ followers. You're exempt from this, because the very first priority you need to have is a personal relationship with Jesus. Okay, then you can be his, in this case, servant. All right, but here, Christ followers, it's talking to us, servants entrusting his, keyword, it's his property, his money, not the servants, not anybody else's, but whose? His property to them. To one he gave 5 talents, but pause right there, the word talents. It's a bag of silver. In this case, 1 talent equals, in our weird kind of culture, it's roughly about $360,000. $360,000. Wouldn't that be nice to just have your boss come up to you and say, here's $360,000. I'm going to be gone for a little while. Just take care of my money. Wouldn't that be pretty cool? How many guys are kind of be freaked out? My boss just gave me $360,000, okay? So the first one is $360,000 times what? 5, okay? To one he gave 5 times $365,000 of money. To the other one he gave 2 talents, 2 times $365,000, and one he gave $365,000 worth of silver, each according to his ability. Pause. Let's talk. I don't make a lot of money at all. I drive a school bus. I pastor a church. I don't make much money at all. But I'm happy with what God has given to me. Because this is what I do know. If I made $365,000 a year, to me, I don't know what to do with it. I really don't. Maybe for me, I'm a 1 talent person. I just get a certain amount of money a year. That's what I work my rear off for. Because God knows that, you know what? Any more than X, Y, and Z, any more than this, he's going to waste it anyway because he doesn't know what to do with it according to his ability. Some of you guys make a lot of money. If you do, God knew that you can manage it. God knew that you can take care of it. But in this case, the 1 talent person, as we're going to find out, is given just a little bit. But according to his or her what? Ability. All right? So know that. So just don't say, I wish I was rich like this person. No. Say, thank God he has given me what I have. Because you don't know what You've heard it on the news. You've seen it on TV shows. Somebody wins the lotto, okay? They win a buttload of money. By the time they're like, I'm going to quit my job, I'm going to get rid of my parents, I'm getting rid of my dog, cat, and maybe my wife too. I'm going to get rid of everything, and I'm going to love this money, and this money is going to last forever. And how long does it actually last? Not long at all. Because the person that wins the lottery may be a one-talent person, they're given all this cash, they waste it, and don't make a difference with it. This is an example of it. So don't worry that you don't make as much as somebody else. Work your butt off, be obedient, and watch God use your gifts and abilities and talents for His purpose. You with me? Amen. All right. Then he said, then when he went on his journey, the one who received 5 talents went at once and, underline this, put his money to work. And I like this. It says his, and we read that and we say his money being the servant's money, really, where it's putting whose money to work? Jesus. In this case, well, we're referring to Jesus, but the master's, the one who belongs and owns it, put his money to work and gained 5 more. So also the one who had 2 received and put his money to work and got 2 more. But the one who had received 1 talent went off, dug a hole into the ground, and hid his master's money. Waste. 19. After a long time, the master of those servants returned to settle the accounts with them. Period. Pause for a second. We as Christ followers are going to give an account for the money that God has given us and what we have done with it. We don't know when our Master Jesus is going to be coming back. He could come right now, and you and I are going to have to give an account for what we've done with our life, our money, our relationship with Christ. We're going to give an account. So this is just not more. This is not just a message about money. This is a message about life. When Jesus Christ comes back, He's going to look at every single one of us that are truly Christ followers. By the way, if you're not a Christ follower, you're in for some. You don't want Jesus to come back yet. Trust me. You need to have a relationship with Jesus first. The money, the time, the talents, whatever you do, you're going to give an account for it. So just don't think you're going to go to work. Just don't think you're going to go do other things. And you're going to end your life and then you're going to see Jesus, come party with Jesus on Rock Band, and you're just going to have a great time. No, you're going to give an account for every minute, every dollar, everything you do with God's money, God's time, and God's air that you breathe. Don't think any other way than that. If you just get that point and leave here and think about that, it should change your life. All right. You don't know when He's going to come back. Verse 20, it says, the man who received 5 talents brought the 5 others. The master, he said, you have entrusted me with 5. See, I have gained 5 more. If you want to underline anything in these 2 passages, you need to underline verse 21. You need to underline verse 23, because this is what we need to hear from Jesus. The master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. To the one who was given 5 and got 5 more. Well done, good and faithful servant. I love this. You have been faithful with a what? Few things. And I love that. Did you catch that? With a what? Few things. We think that 5 times $360,000 is a lot of things. But it's not. To God, it's a few things. Do you catch that? Even God, in this passage, the master didn't say, hey, you had 3/4 of my nest egg to take care of. Thank you for taking care of a lot of my stuff. He's like, with a few things. You got the picture? So God, when He gives us stuff, it's just a few things. But what are we supposed to be doing with it? Be good caretakers of the few things. Whether we have a lot or we have a little, we have to take care of the what? Few things. All right? Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of what? Many things. Come and share in the master's happiness. Wouldn't that be awesome? You stand in front of Jesus and you say, well done. You are maybe dirt poor or you are filthy rich, but you are faithful with what I gave you. Wouldn't that be awesome? Yes. Absolutely. And then it comes into verse 22. It says, the man with the 2 talents also came and said, Master, you have entrusted me with 2 talents. So see, I have gained more. And I love this. I love this. Because verse 22 and verse 21 are the exact same words. Exactly the same words. The master came back, and I'm going to read it. He's going to say, well done, good and faithful servant. He didn't say, well, you know what, the 5 got more, so I'm going to like him more than I like the 2. That makes sense? With God, it is even. He doesn't show favoritism, it's even. No matter if you're 1 or 5 or a 2 talent. And I love this. It says, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share with my in my happiness. Verse 24. Then the man who received 1 talent came and then said, Master, I knew that you were a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seeds. So I was, underline it, highlight it, circle it, know this word. So I was what? Afraid. And I believe that is the reason why you and us who don't take care of the money that we get and the time and the talents, because we're afraid of stepping out on faith. You are afraid of giving to others, giving to God, investing it wisely, budgeting, as we're going to be talking about. You're afraid of taking that step of faith. But God says what you have is a few things, which means He owns everything. So please hear me clearly. You need to take the step of faithfulness and not be what? Afraid. So I was afraid and went out and hid your talents in the ground. See, here's what belonged to you. You're getting what you received back. I'm giving it back to you. His master replied, you wicked, and underline it, lazy. Wicked and lazy. I don't want my Master Jesus saying, you've been lazy with the time, talents, and resources that you've been given. I don't want to be called wicked by Him. I want to hear Him say, well done. And that's me. Maybe I just love my Jesus enough to say, I want to please Him. But you have to ask that for yourself. Have you been lazy and have you been wicked with the money, time, and talents that you have received? So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gathered where I have not scattered seeds. Well then, you should have. This would have been the wise thing to do. You should have put my money on a deposit with the bankers, so that when I return, you would have received back with interest. You didn't necessarily have to do something, just invest it. Don't dig it down and waste it and put dirt on it just like laundry. You're just wasting it. It's dirty. But if you put it where it's supposed to be, it's going to be clean, it's going to be washed, it's going to be brand new. The investment's where it's going to take the talents from him. He was talking to somebody else. Take the talents from him. I give it to you. I give it to the one who has 10 talents. In other words, the most faithful one. For everyone who has will be given more, and he will have it in abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken from him. And I'm going to pause and say this. Listen. I believe, and I cannot necessarily prove this in Scripture, so this is a Davism. This is the morbid, weird thought of mine. Okay, if we are not taking care of being obedient to God in giving, and being obedient to God in not wasting our money, if we're wasting the money that God has given to us, He is going to get His money back from you somehow, some way. This is my morbid thought. So, I can't prove it, but imagine this. If I'm not being obedient and tithing, giving, wasting my money through frivolous living, whatever, my car might break down, and the part will be a new transmission, and the new transmission costs, say, $3,000. All right, $3,000 costs $3,000. So I have to find the money to invest in the van, which potentially could be, and again, this is just me, that mechanic is a faithful follower of Jesus Christ, and God's going to get his tithe, his money, his obedience through that mechanic. But he's going to get his own because it's his money. And it's going to come out of your back pocket because we have been lazy and wicked along the way. So I want to encourage you guys, as we're just giving some practical thoughts of this, that we don't need to be punished with this. So if you do an audit of your life, think about this. If you do an audit of your life, if I came in and have auditors come in and I say, everybody take out your bank account statements, go ahead and take out your credit cards, go ahead and take out everything, and we say, Caleb, where has your money been? Okay, so you're giving me your credit cards, your bank statements and everything, and the auditor looks at it and says, where has your money gone? They can look down and they can know exactly where your money's going. They're good like that. Accountants make me go crazy because they can look at a number and figure out how much you're wasting. I'm like, I can't even figure out 1 + 1 + 3, and I can't figure that out. But the auditors and accountants, they can. And so they can look at each and every one of us. Guess who is the greatest mathematician ever? God, IRS. God got the IRS beat. Look at our government. Okay, so the IRS and IRS, I just said, okay. God is the greatest accountant, investor in the world, and he can look at all of us right now, and he doesn't need your bank statement. He doesn't need any of your paperwork because he knows, because it's his money. So if we did an audit of your life and my life, how would we look? Would the government garnish? Would God garnish our wages? Would he come after us because we are not being obedient to what the audit is supposed to look like? I'm going to introduce you to somebody that had a personal audit done in his heart and soul. So come on up here, Angelo. Everybody say hi to Angelo. All right, come on up here, my friend Angelo. Angelo is a dear friend. Here's a seat for you, my friend, and here's a microphone. Turn this on. All right, there you go. Angelo is actually a dear friend, and actually, Angelo, while I find the seat, go and introduce your family to me and to everybody real quick.
Right here in the third row in the center is my wife, Carrie, and on each side of her is Jillian and Jonathan, our 2 children.
Welcome, you guys. Okay, here's the deal. Angelo and their family have been dear friends from the very beginning. They knew us when we started in the hotel, I believe, right? From the very beginning. So Angelo knows a lot of different things about us as Catalyst Church, and they are prayer partners, supporters of the Catalyst Church, even from a distance. He goes to Crossroads. He is one of the amazing people that help with the discipleship and so on and so forth. Side note, by the way, Crossroads has opened up a West Side kind of campus place, and they offer great discipleship classes based kind of for free, and one is financial peace. And you don't have to go to Crossroads in order to be a part of that, do they? No, absolutely. So Angelo, basically through your lifetime, God's been doing some really interesting things in your life, hasn't he? I'm going to ask you 4 simple questions, and I want you to kind of just share your heart about where God has taken you from through the audit of your life and where you are now. So the very first question is, tell me about your past before this financial audit kind of took place. So share with me a little bit about that.
Okay, so about 5 years ago, we moved down to Evansville, a company that I worked for 18 years. I was 35 years old, making a couple $100,000 a year, and they sent me down here to run our Southern Indiana operation, manage about 40 employees. And church was kind of like bookends to the week for us, and wasn't a consistent thing. And I was this young hotshot guy that they sent to kind of clean up things here in Evansville. And so if I had to prioritize my life at that point, it was job, title, money, then family, friends, community, church, and God was at the very bottom. And you talk about the friend day. Well, Crossroads was kind of doing something like that, and there was this 65-year-old woman who worked for me, making about $30,000 a year, asked me about 6 times over the course of many months to come to church. And I turned her down so many times, and I finally came to church. Fast forward, within a year, accepted Christ in adult baptism, and slowly God started to change my heart. And so, and I wish I could say it was just a quick thing like that, but it's a process. And so, today, my priorities are now God, family, church, friends, community, and at the very bottom is job, title, and money. And so today I make $46,000 a year, so about a fourth of what I was making before I accepted Christ. And that's kind of gives you a little bit of a picture of who I was.
Absolutely. So what happened? So you're making a buttload of money. You had all the titles, fame, fortune, and all that stuff. And from what you said, maybe I'm wrong, but I remember our first conversation is I came over to your guys' house, and you lived in a really nice house here in Evansville, a house that we lusted after type of thing. And you're like, this is nothing. You should have seen our house in Chicago type of thing. So a lot of money and so on and so forth. But then you came to know Christ. But then what ended up happening? What was this spiritual awakening financially with you that you would say happened?
Yeah. So it started with adult baptism. That was the first thing. And all the trips, all the travel. I would leave at before 6 a.m. in the morning. I'd come home after 7. I really didn't know my family. My wife she told me afterwards she was on the verge of, divorcing me. And so I just wasn't happy. And so after I accepted Christ, I started to get involved in different ministries. Took a couple trips to Africa, which was important. And this may happen in some of your families where one person's kind of on a spiritual fast track and the other one isn't. Well, that was the case in our life. Is I was baptized, Carrie wasn't. I was taking mission trips, Carrie hadn't yet. And then in February of this year, she decided to come with me to Haiti. And I tell you, you can't undo something once you've seen it. And once you've seen, we all know people. We all may think we don't have enough, and we know somebody, if we think hard enough, somebody that doesn't have it as good as we have it, whether it's disease or finances or whatever. But when you see kids, firsthand living on like $1 a day, and their only meal is maybe a bowl of beans, and these kids are so happy.
Absolutely.
It makes you really take, a look at your life, no matter where you're at.
And the adults are happy too, right?
Yeah, and the adults are happy too. And it makes you wonder, well, why am I not happy?
Correct.
What's wrong with me? And so that was what happened for us. And so we went through our third downsize of our home this year. So we downsized another 1,000 square. This is our third downsize from where we were in Chicago. And it came to a point where we were on the same page, and we said, we need to get rid of this big house, get rid of this stuff. You get a big house and you want to fill up more stuff, and you talk about, if you don't take care of what you have, that God will take it away. I think we're kind of proof of what your hunch was, is that, God can take away and strip away that income that He's blessed you with. He could strip away that home, that He blessed you with.
Absolutely. So, are you happier today making, what did you say, $47,000 than when you were before?
Yeah, absolutely. We're much happier today. A smaller home means you're closer to each other, and when you have less travel, less distractions, you see each other more, you spend time together more, you're more involved in each other's lives.
Absolutely. So what are you doing right now? Is this a one-stop shop? In other words, you're going to get tired of it, and all of a sudden you're going to want new clothes, you're going to want new cars, you're going to want all this stuff, or what are you going to do to maintain this? Because we as Americans, we seem to always want stuff. So are you going to be able to, what are you doing to maintain this aspect of income with giving so that you don't get sucked into the American dream again?
Yeah, so good question. So back when I was making a lot of money, it was hard to even put, I know this sounds silly, but even put $10 in the offering plate. I mean, that's where I was. That's how bad it was. And today we're faithful tithers, and we do, above and beyond through giving to missions and other churches. What we have, now I'm more of a free spender. My wife is the more organized one, so she's manages the finances, and so we took inventory of where we're most reckless with, and that was spending money on gas, traveling a lot, eating out a lot, and spending, whether it's on clothing or things that you want. And so we actually opened up 3 separate accounts for those 3 areas where we have budgets, fixed amounts that we have to live.
What's the B word?
Oh, budget.
Budget. Okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
So we have this budget, and our budget today is under $4,000 in expenses per month. So, that's how we did it. Is we got 3 cards for those 3 areas, so we don't overspend in those areas where we could be most reckless. We have 3 separate debit cards for those 3 things, and then we have a budget of just under $4,000.
So if your budget is $4,000, what if God blesses you with more? Maybe God will bring in more. I mean, I know you're a kind of financial planner. So what if God brings in more money? Are you going to bump your budget up and get more, or what are you going to do with your excess?
Yeah, so we're convicted now that, we can be happy with where we're at. And we don't know how God's going to bless us. We hope it'll be financial again. We hope by building a business here that's what the blessings will come like, but we don't know what those blessings will look like. It could be in new relationships, it could be in other ministries. So, but what we know is that we're happy financially on the budget we have. So if it happens to be financial, I mean, it's kind of exciting to think of what we can do with, extra 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, if he blesses us that way, of how many more people that we can give to, because we want to give more. I mean, we're giving so much now than what we were 4 or 5 years ago. And so if we could give, I think back, if I had that money now, gosh, how many people we can be helping.
100%.
So we hope that that's what God will do, but we're not guaranteed of that.
Correct. Absolutely. But at least you have your budget so that you can happily live off of this and figure out how to make that budget. So good. So the last question is, I know you're a financial guru, and I ask you financial questions here and there. What advice can you give these amazing people regarding the journey that you've been in, and maybe God's doing a financial audit or a life audit in our lives? So what advice could you give us?
Okay, so a few things that come to mind is, for everybody, everybody can have a budget of their own, whether it's, $5,000, $6,000, $3,000, $2,500. Each home needs to decide what that is for them. For us, the big question that we ask ourselves often is, is it a need or is it a want? That's what we find ourselves asking consistently. Because if we want something, and if we can get it or we can charge it, we can get it pretty quickly. It's easy to get what we want. But the question you have to ask yourself, and that's what takes some discipline, is do I actually need it? And I think it comes down to being in a right relationship with the Lord. Because, we can pose, even after, we accept Christ, we still have within our mind these battles that go on. And so we can still make the wrong decisions. So you really have to ask yourself, am I in a right relationship with the Lord? Am I seeing other people? Am I seeing his provisions the way that he would see them? And that's so important. But the last thing I would say is that, you could have more and not be happy. So don't think that you have to have more to be happy. Where you're at right now, you can be happy with what you have. But just, the enemy is going to tempt us, for any of us, no matter what we have, to put distractions in our lives.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, I want to pray for Angelo. I pray that helped us with it. Angelo, as he alluded, he does support Catalyst Church with his part of his income. And I really appreciate you guys for doing that. It really helps out so we can continue to do missions. So I'm going to pray for you and your family, if that's okay. All right? Lord Jesus, I thank you for Angelo. Lord, I thank you for his obedience. Lord, it's been an audit, a financial, spiritual, and just a life audit in his life, Lord. And I pray that you'll bless him in many, many ways, whether it's financial, whether it's health, whether it's making many mission trips overseas. Bless him and his ministry at Crossroads. And I pray, Lord, that as you're continuing to prod his life, prod his heart about what the next step is in his life, I pray that you make it abundantly clear. But thank you for his obedience. Thank you for his wisdom. And I pray that we have gained a little bit of that. I pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, my friend. Let's give him a hand real quick. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. All right. So here we go. These are note-taking times. These are the practical things. And Rachel and I, we are not rich, but it's really amazing. I'm telling you the truth. It is the most amazing thing in the world to have a limited amount of money, pay all our bills, and we have money left over that literally, if you had asked an accountant, it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't. And I believe it comes from obedience. And these 4 things I think are so crucial. So write these down. And what I want you guys to do is take these home and pray over it with yourself. Pray over it with your wife, your children, whatever. Think about these practical things and trust me. Do it. There's a guy named Dave Ramsey. He's a guru of financial stuff. These are some of his things, but realistically, it's biblical things that we need to do. So the very first thing, in order to pass the audit, is invest your money, God's money, in tithing. And you're like, crap, he said the T word again. I'm telling you the truth. You give back to God what belongs to His, and He's not asking you for 25%. He's saying give a tenth, give a tithe. And I love in Malachi, we talked about that last week, it says, be obedient, test me in this, and I'll prove myself to you. For those of you guys, I don't want you to shout out who you are, but for those of you guys who tithe, do you believe that that has made a big difference in your life? The answer is yes, but think about that. For those of you guys who don't give back to God, He's going to get His. Trust me. And all He's asking us to do is give back. So if you want to invest, and people said, hey, did Jesus really say to tithe? Let me read this one verse. It says this. Matthew 23:23, it says, what sorrow awaits the teachers of the religious law, the people who play religious, and the Pharisees, you hypocrites. For what you are careful to tithe, even the tiniest income from herbs and the gardens, but you ignore the most important aspects of the law, justice, mercy, and faith. I'm going to pause right there and say what this is really talking about is this. The Pharisees, the religious rulers, they say, okay, if I make $1.52 off of some herbs that are coming in, I'm going to do everything I can to go to the very smallest little bit and tithe off of it. But they're doing that just because they think it is about religion. It's about a relationship, guys. We're forgetting. We might give our money away to God and we're like, check it off, that's a religious action. No, it's worship. When you give your money back to God, it's like, God, I don't know how I'm going to make it through the week, but this is yours. Help. And I guarantee you that's the greatest investment you can ever make, because this is what He says. You should tithe. This is red letters, Jesus. You should tithe, yes. But do not neglect the important things. In other words, saying this, yeah, tithing is important. And it's the greatest investment that you can make in your money. But don't forget to still love on others. Do justice. Do mercy. Love on others. Don't just check mark it that you've made the investment and go on your way. You say, hey, God, I'm going to invest in being obedient. And being obedient allows us to go out and help others, to serve others. That makes sense? So the greatest investment you can ever make is the investment in tithing. Because Colossians 1:17 says, He, Jesus, is before all things, and in Him all things hold together. Your life is going to fall apart. I'd say 3/4 of you guys raised your hand and said, you are stressed about finances. And you don't have to be. If Jesus and the obedience to Him is priority number 1, watch everything else fall into place. Guarantee you. The next one is the most hated word probably on the face of the planet, and it's the word budget. budget. I believe that we need to invest in a balanced budget. The Bible talks about checking and making sure that everything and the money goes out the way it's supposed to go. So let me ask you this. How many of you guys honestly have an active, not just a, I think I know where my money's going, but an active budget? Raise your hand. An active budget. Does it make a difference to have an active budget? Does it? Because here's the deal. Let me give you a site illustration. This is $50. $50. How many guys would like this $50 right now? Okay. This $50 is my $50. This is my moving expenses for this Friday. So this money is important to me. But here's the deal. This money is not alive, is it? It's not alive. It's just paper. It's printed, and it's not money. If I want to put my money right here, stay. What is the money going to do? Stay. Good money. Oh, I'm going to take my money and I am going to put my money, you would really like that, wouldn't you? Right here. Okay. So what is that money now going to do? Stay right there. It's going to go where I put it. So many of you guys say, you know what? I don't know where my $50 have gone. I mean, I thought I had it, but you don't budget your money. Your $50 is going to go where you put it. And many of you think that I don't, at the end of the week, I cannot tithe, or I do not tithe, or I cannot help others, or I cannot go to the ladies' conference because you thought you have money, but you can't go because you don't know where the money went. The result is this. Find out where your money is going, and it will radically change your life. Rachel and I kind of did a re-budget, and we're going to do it again when we move. But when we started to mark where our money was going, and I can tell you the truth, we have wasted a lot of money on donuts, coffee, and Coca-Cola. McDonald's Happy Meals. We have wasted money on that. When I say wasted, we don't need a Coke. We can go to a fountain and drink some water. At restaurants, we used to do appetizers. We don't do that anymore because it's a waste of money. I'm going to get fat anyway. Might as well just not have an appetizer. But we wasted money on that. But we started to look about where our money was going. And I believe if you do the same thing, it takes dedication, because whose money is it? God's money. But if you're not watching where the money's going, you probably are wasting more than you think. Many of you ladies don't think you can come to the ladies' conference because you don't have $10. Think about this. Where have you wasted the money so that you can't go to the ladies' conference? Because this is what I know. If I was the devil, and my wife would probably say that I am, but if I was the devil, I would do everything in my power to make you and I waste our money. Because when an opportunity comes for you to go to Kenya, Africa, Myanmar, or whatever, you say you can't because you have no money. Because you've wasted. I almost guarantee you, if you would check out your entire year, no matter if you are $50,000 or $20,000 a year, if you're $100,000 or $10,000, just watch where your money goes and watch. You will have money. If you, keyword what? Budget. Proverbs 21 verse 5, it says, the plans of the, keyword, love it, highlight it, diligent. Many of us, as that passage that we read, are lazy. We're lazy when it comes to writing down. We take out a receipt, and we're like, okay, I spent $3.56. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's under $4, so I'll just throw it away. Write down where that money went and calculate it and compare it to the budget. If you just spent $20 on your clothes and you have a $30 budget that month, how much do you have left when you at the end of the month? $10. But what if you just save? You save that money. Don't touch your clothing money. But you know what? I want a new suit. I want a new tie. I want a new shirt from Walmart. I want this. That's fine. But if you don't have the money, you shouldn't spend the money. That's why people get into debt. But I love this. The plans of the diligent leads to what? Profit. Be diligent to it. As surely as haste, in other words, impulse buying, ladies. I know. I was gonna get onto guys in a little bit. All right. But what the word haste means is kind of the impulse. Haste leads to poverty. I think when we impulse, because Lord, I mean, you look at QVC, you look at TV, you watch these commercials on TV, and here's quick story. I wasn't making wasn't making much money, college student, so on and so forth, and I bought the greatest investment that I ever thought I could make. It was an Abflex. Anybody bought an Abflex before? The Abflex was a machine like this with a rubber band, and you would just sit while watching TV and just flex your abs like this. After 3 or 4 times, and that didn't work, I put it to the side. It was a waste of money. But I wanted to impulse buy it right then, right there. True? So be careful about wasting your money with impulse buys. I think it would go majorly different. And here at Catalyst Church, I'll just say this. We live by a budget here at Catalyst Church. And even we made a very big point about donuts. Our priority is missions. Our priority is community. Our priority is giving money out to people in need. We don't need the donuts. So we did not want to spend $180 on donuts when if we could provide a church planter funding for an entire month, year by $180 and an orphan too. That's where our money needs to go. That's a priority. So you need to prioritize your money. We have budgets up here that you can get at the very end. And it's a very easy budget that it even tells you how to do it. It marks how much you're making and puts the very first pages there, as well as the budget says, okay, this is how much I think I need to spend on my rent. This is how much I think I need to spend on childcare. This is how much I think I need to spend. But put your money in a budget, and then it has a line here, and it says how much you actually spent. I want to encourage you to do that for a couple months and watch where your money goes. And I guarantee you, it will make a world of difference. Third thing, really quick, is this. You need to invest $1,000 in an emergency fund. You need to do whatever you can to get $1,000 as quickly as you can. And you say that's a lot of money. Yes, it is. You need to, the reason why an emergency fund is important is because what's going to end up happening probably in the next 3 or 4 months? An emergency. Your car's going to break down. You're going to need something. Either there's a health issue, or you'll have metal in your eye, and you need to go to where's Randy? Yeah, okay. Randy just had an emergency. He had to go to emergency room. This last couple days ago, he got metal in his eyes. He didn't think, okay, I'm going to put metal in my eye today. Okay, I'm going to think about doing that. No, it was an emergency. So if they had an emergency fund, they would be able to put money towards it. Listen closely to me. Things are going to happen. The reason why many of you are in debt is because you didn't have an emergency fund. What happens is the devil attacks, he allows things to happen, life happens, God happens, and all of a sudden is you get into financial debt because of things that happened before, because you weren't prepared for the things that was going to happen. Plan ahead. Life happens. Get a financial balance of emergency. An emergency does not mean, man, I've got a wedding to go to and I need a new dress. That's emergency. You know, my nails are getting a little bit longer, and you know what? That lady at the restaurant at the mall, she does a really good job, and it's an emergency because my split ends are coming out. That's not an emergency. An emergency is not, oh, I'm going to go to Colts game because my friends are going. It's an emergency. I'll never get to go. Who cares? The Colts stink. Okay. I don't watch football, so I can say that. Okay. James 4, verse 13 and 14, it says this. Now listen. You who say, tomorrow, today or tomorrow, we'll go from one city to another, spend a year there, carry on business, make money. Why? You don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. What is your life? You're here for a moment, and then you're missed, and a little bit, you'll go away and you'll vanish. Listen, you don't know what's going to happen. Do your kids, when you die, are they going to be taken care of, or are they going to be in debt because of your funeral? Let me say that again. If you were to die today and you're not prepared for your death, you can use an emergency fund because that's an emergency. You just died. Use an emergency fund to bury you in a pauper's grave because it costs like $5,000 to bury somebody today. But invest in that. But listen, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. True? Prepare for tomorrow. But don't worry about tomorrow, especially if you have an emergency fund. You're like, Dave, how am I going to get that? I barely make it. Sell something. Sell something. But that Appflex, whoo, I'm going to be big and strong. Sell the Appflex. Sell your TV. Selling your TV will result in no cable. I'm not saying get rid of cable because I like cable. That's awesome. But sell something until you get $1,000. When an emergency happens, work your hardest. Maybe a second job, not missing Sundays or Bible study, but a second job, figuring out until you can get $1,000. After you spend the $1,000 when the emergency comes, go ahead and do it again. Figure out how you can figure out to get $1,000 into an emergency fund, and I guarantee you, you won't be as in debt because you have planned wisely. And the last one is this. You need to invest in getting out of debt. How many of you guys can honestly say you are literally in debt? Raise your hand. You have a debt. All right. I am this close to getting out of debt. We have a couple more medical bills in my bus, and I am debt free. Thank God for that. And I can tell you, it is one of the most freeing things in the entire world. Because this is what the Bible says. Proverbs 22, verse 7. The rich rule over the poor, and the poor and the borrower, those who are in debt, is slave to the lender. You're not going to be set free because you are a slave to the bank. You're slave to your employee. You're slave to your best friend that lent you $1,000. And you feel obligated. And you're not going to invite them to Friend Day because they say no. And if you push them too hard, they're going to ask for their money back. But you're slave to the lender. No one can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one or love the other, or he will be devoted to the one or despise the other. You can't serve both God and money. Guys, listen. Get out of debt. Figure out how to get out of debt. I'm going to give you a tool at the end, but get out of debt. I guarantee you, unless you're like $1 million in debt, then it might be longer. I guarantee you, if you put your effort into getting out of debt, being obedient, budgeting, and instead of spending $1.50 on a Diet Pepsi, a Diet Pepsi throughout the day, just put that money back into your debt and drink water. Or you know what I'm talking about. Whatever you're wasting your money on, get out of debt. And I guarantee you, according to Dave Ramsey, someone who way smarter than money, it'll take 3 to 4 years for you to get out of debt. How awesome would that be if you plummet everything you possibly can to get out of debt? How freeing would that be? Would that be freeing? Okay, get out of debt. Then Romans 13 verse 8 says, owe no one anything except to love one another. For he who loves one another has fulfilled the law. All right. That's a lot to take in. But it starts with a relationship with Jesus. It's not your money, Christ follower, it's God's. Budget your money. Does that mean you're not going to have Nickelodeon? Maybe. Does it mean your kids aren't going to have a Christmas that you spend $300 or $400 on? The toys are going to break anyway. Guys, listen. Figure out where your money's going. I challenge you right now to get the budget that I'm about to present to you guys. Get the budget, sit down, don't be lazy about it, and spend a couple months doing it. Watch where your money's going. Be obedient to giving back to God, and watch Him do some amazing things, because He's going to get His, because it is His. Guys, I love you enough to push you guys on this. I love you enough to see you guys get out of debt. But just like the laundry, I can instruct you through God's word as your friend and pastor to get out of debt, budget your money, get the emergency fund together. I can tell you everything that God says. I can tell you it's not your money, but you have to believe it for yourself. You have to believe that the budget's going to help. What's it going to hurt? You're poor anyway. Figure out where your poor is and watch God bless you for it. Okay? Get out of debt. We should not be indebted to anybody other than the debt Jesus Christ paid on that cross. We need to pay Him back by living obediently to Him.